Guess what? The Slender Man is a pussy, so instead of running scared, we'll take the initiative. This started as a free game, earned a following, now it's a commercial release. Let's see how this will do on the market. The full title is Slender: The Arrival. This is a remake of the original game, which was Slender: The 8 Pages. That was a freeware horror game that spread like wildfire, and obviously this is intended to be an improvement over the original. The game is still in beta, so some of these things may change as we get to a full release, so keep this in mind. The objective is to collect 8 pages that are spread across the dark, spooky forest. In the original game, I believe there are 10 locations where you can find these pages, but only 8 of these locations will have them. I'm not too sure how many locations there are in the new version, but there are multiple locations you can spawn in. So the gameplay is very simple. You avoid the Slender Man, and you find the pages. The graphics have a huge improvement over the original. You're now looking through the point of view of a video camera, so it has that Blair Witch Project feel to it, and the entire atmosphere and the environment are much nicer than before. Sometimes you may have trouble seeing where you're going, but of course that was intentional. It wouldn't be much of a scary game if you could see everything in your peripheral vision. All you can see is what your flashlight is pointing at. As for the difficulty, I felt the game was a bit too easy. At first, I thought it was hard because I didn't know the map, I didn't know the locations, and I had trouble finding the actual path between the locations. Once I memorized the locations, and once I found the paths between them, the game was just easy. You go from point A to point B, check to see if there's a page there, and then move on. As for evading the Slender Man, I thought this was easy as well. You know how he teleports around when you pick up the pages? Like sometimes he will appear in front of you behind a tree or something like that. I just found it easy to avoid him. Just don't look at him, and then when he teleports in front of you, the camera becomes distorted and all you do is look away from him, move away from him, and that's really it, at least from my experience. Sometimes you'll have to run off of the path just to avoid him, but otherwise, evading him is really easy. There is an option to change the difficulty, so if you find it too easy, crank it up. It's a really simple game, so there's really not a whole lot to say. Of course, going from freeware to commercial will have an impact, so let's analyze how this game will do on the market. For its short-term presence, within 4 to 8 weeks, expect to see the full release of the game. The release date is sometime in March. Since it's in beta, you can purchase the game for $5. When the game comes out, this will be $10, so even then, the game is cheap. There's also a stage selection option in the main menu. This is disabled at the moment, but in the full release, I would expect to see multiple levels to choose from. I have no idea what they'll be, but I would expect something like a creepy mansion, a cemetery, a school, possibly a hospital. I think these would be really creepy levels to play in. If there was no plan to put in multiple levels, this would have been one of my suggestions. As for its exposure, the game already has a following to begin with, so it has a huge advantage there. We're going to see a lot of Let's Plays in this time period. This game will spread to all corners of the internet. Everyone and their mothers will know about this game. For its long-term exposure, within 3 to 6 months, I think people will still be playing this game, especially during Halloween, which is, well, more than 6 months away, but the point is, this is a very short but replayable game. This is something you can come back to, maybe play a couple games, which is like 10 or 15 minutes, but a lot of people will still come back to this. I'm also predicting more levels to be released, either by the developers or by modders, depending on whether or not they release a level editor for the game. So for the game's long-term support, I think it's going to be very good. I mean, this is a game people will remember. The original game was free, and all it took was word of mouth to get this to everyone. This game is riding off the success of the original, and I'm sure it will live up to everyone's expectations. Check back in a few months for the follow-up, and thanks for watching.